Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Common Anomaly podcast. You're listening to Season 3, Episode 13. I'm your host, Stuart James. Joining me today is Clayton James. How's it going, brother?
I'm doing great. I feel like I have a bit of an advantage today because we are recording at my house for once. Computer here, I've got all sorts of stuff set up.
That's right. It might sound a little different because we don't have our usual padding and stuff on the wall, our sound absorption panel, so it might be a little echoey. But thanks for stepping up and letting us record here today. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a show. We'd be screwed.
Yeah, what happened to your house?
No, Im's really under the weather, and she just didn't want a house guest because, you know what it's like when you're sick.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're at Clayton's house today, and we're talking about the Grand Canyon Mysteries, this famous case of G.E. Kincaid and his Cave of Mysteries. I'm really looking forward to this one. This is a really fun topic. I think it connects to a lot of other stuff we've talked about in the past and stuff I really want to talk about in the future.
Yeah.
And I know there's probably that skeptical community out there. There's a lot of people that think this is an easy case to debunk rather, and think that it's nonsense. Hold on, not so fast. I think this is actually a small piece to a much larger puzzle.
Yeah.
So please stick around, and I'm going to make my case for that. I know you're on a bit of the skeptical end, aren't you, on this one?
Yeah, I was telling you before we started recording that I was about an hour into my research for this, and I pretty much convinced myself that the whole thing was a hoax.
Oh, and then you just abandoned all of your work, did you? You just stopped right there?
No. It was just the rest of my work was a bit of a struggle.
Right.
Because I'm like, the whole thing's a hoax. Well, that's not very exciting.
Okay, well, I'm going to do my best to change your mind and the audience mind. When we get to the end of the episode, please jump in the comments and let us know, what do you think? Is this all bunk, or is there something to this? I think there's actually something to this. But before we start, we got to cover a little show news. You and I have had the goal this year of trying to engage a monetization strategy, because we're doing this, we're having a lot of fun, but we're also spending a lot of money, and we're not really making any money.
Yeah.
We've got expenses here, folks, so we got to try and pay the bills somehow. We're not doing subscriptions or anything, but we do have some news. We are very proud to announce that we have our very first affiliate partnership with oldglory.com. So the way it works is you can go to this website, oldglory.com. They've got great products. They do merchandise for everything under the sun you can think of, whether it's your favorite band or your favorite sports team, movies, television shows. They got Marvel stuff, Star Wars stuff, great stuff. You can go to the website, use the code at checkout, Anomaly3, all caps, Anomaly3, and you will get an exclusive 15% discount on everything in your cart. Anything in the store you choose to buy, you'll get that discount. And the Common Anomaly podcast will earn a small commission on that. So you can get some great stuff and help support your favorite podcast at the same time. Please go check them out. We'll put a link in the description and in the show notes. oldglory.com, Anomaly3. I'm a big Beatles fan, and I got me this Beatles t-shirt with like the Let It Be art on it. Mm-hmm. And I wore it I've had it for years, and I wore it so much the design had worn off, and I was able to actually find that exact same t-shirt on their website and order it and restore my wardrobe back to its old glory. See what I did there?
Well, I have nothing to add because I can't top that.
Well, your birthday's coming up. Maybe I should go on there and buy something for you. What do you want? I know you're a big Nickelback fan. I know there's a Nickelback t-shirt on there.
Certainly am not.
What? You don't like Nickelback?
No, I don't.
You shouldn't be ashamed, Clayton. They're a Canadian institution. Oh, and beyond that, we also have Buy Me a Coffee now. So if you go to our website, thecommonanomalypodcast.com, you'll see a button there for Buy Me a Coffee if you like to support that way. And there's also a donate button if you just want to donate directly to my PayPal. If you don't want to throw money our way, I don't know why you wouldn't. There are a lot of free ways to support us as well. If you just take a quick moment and hit that like button, leave us a review or comment on an episode on YouTube, that goes a long way. So you don't have to spend money, but we really do appreciate that kind of support because that helps us get the show out there to a larger audience. Those are some free ways as well you can support the show. But that's enough of my plug. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on, folks. And now let's actually get on with the show.
Yeah, let's talk about this cave.
Yeah, let's talk about G.E. Kincaid. Okay, do you want to start us off? Who is this fellow? Where are we? We're in the early 20th century again.
Yeah, G.E. Kincaid. I have no idea what GE stands for.
No.
I was not able to find it.
No, I don't think anyone knows.
So G.E. Kincaid, the first reference to this man is in an Arizona Gazette article from April 5th, 1909, titled Explorations in the Grand Canyon. This article details the expedition of this man, G.E. Kincaid, who was supposedly a bit of an explorer, traveler.
We've got another Indiana Jones type character.
Yeah, Indiana
right?
Jones type character. He was traveling the Colorado River on a skiff. Started at Green River, Wyoming. Destination was Yuma, Arizona. That is a very long river rafting trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That is a very long trip, and he was looking for minerals, supposedly.
Yeah.
That's all it says in the article. He was searching for minerals, traveling
Well,
through
he was a geologist, right? Supposedly had at least an interest in geology and was working on behalf of the Smithsonian Institute.
No, not yet. Not during this original expedition.
Oh, okay.
Is
All right.
my understanding. He was just he was an adventurer, and he was searching for minerals, gold or whatever. The article's a little vague. It just says he was searching for minerals.
Okay.
And traveling through the Colorado River, the Grand Canyon, in a region near what's called the Marble Canyon area, he discovered a cave entrance 2,000 feet above the water.
Yeah, quite hard to access. He had noticed some staining on the rock face, the discoloring in the rock face that didn't seem to match anything else. And he saw what looked like an opening in kind of a high shelf, high above the river, under an overhang. So really hard to spot. So he decided to work his way up there. He seemed to just have some kind of knowing that there must be something good up there.
I'm a little unclear how he got up there. The article simply says he attained this opening with, quote, great difficulty.
Yeah, so we don't know if he climbed or if maybe he went up to the ridge and tried to come from above, from over the overhang. Maybe that was in the second expedition, once he kind of knew the location. But anyway, he works his way up to this opening. It seems to be more than just a cave. It looks constructed. The walls are smooth. There's
perfect right angles everywhere.
perfect right angles. There's staircase. There's an actual staircase built into, or steps built into the cavern. And he finds this massive underground complex with massive corridors leading into big halls and rooms filled with artifacts that look like they're from Eastern cultures. There's a statue of what looks like Buddha.
Yeah.
There's hieroglyphics on the wall that look Proto-Egyptian.
Hieroglyphs.
Hieroglyphs.
Not hieroglyphics.
Pardon me. Thank you for the correction.
Oh, you're most welcome.
I'll probably do that 15 more times throughout the course of the episode.
The article does it too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. But then artifacts as well, pottery, statues, gold.
Yeah.
Gold.
And mummies.
Mummies, that's right, mummies. Incredibly large complex as well, right? Kind of this long hallway that went to a central hall with spokes that broke off that looked like they went really deep into the mesa or the plateau or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Built within the canyon.
I don't believe it said he was able to fully explore this space because it just branched off in every direction.
Yeah.
But he said from what he saw, it looked like it was large enough that it could house as many as 50,000 people quite comfortably.
That's right. That's right. And so obviously this is really incredible. This would be a discovery that would completely upset the entire known paradigm of history.
Yes.
Because Tibetan objects, artifacts, Egyptian artifacts should not be appearing in the Grand Canyon in Arizona.
You wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think so. So it sounds quite fantastical. So what does he do? He goes...
He takes a few artifacts and he makes it down to Yuma, which was his original destination, and he ships them to the Smithsonian Institution for study. Then enter this man named Professor S.A. Jordan.
Yes.
S.A. Jordan is who leads the follow-up excavation and investigation, which is financed by the Smithsonian. I also don't know what S.A. and S.A. Jordan stands for.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to find it.
Because we can't find this guy either. Yeah.
Neither of these men seem to exist outside this one newspaper article, which is, again,
Actually,
why...
two. Actually, two.
Oh yes, there was a follow-up article later. I wasn't able to find a copy of it.
No, there's the article that claims the discovery from G.E. Kincaid in the Gazette. But also in the Gazette, I think 2 months earlier, G.E. Kincaid is mentioned prior to him going off on his expedition.
I didn't know that.
In a separate article. So, we'll dig into the Gazette, and we're going to talk about, journalism in the early 20th century, and, is this or is this not a real story? How much credibility is there to it? But that's one piece to back up the credibility, is that prior to him leaving, he's mentioned in a previous article, also in the Gazette. People, believers in this, would argue that that's a lot of effort to go through for a one-off hoax.
Yeah.
Right? But anyway, continue. S.A. Jordan.
S.A. Jordan, I don't have much to say about S.A. Jordan, because outside of this article and the one other follow-up article, the man doesn't exist, the Smithsonian claims, they have absolutely no record of anyone by that name or a similar name ever being associated with the Smithsonian. So I don't know. This is where I started getting really skeptical. This article about an expedition involving these two men that don't appear to actually exist. This is what made it really difficult for me. This article was often compared to Joseph Mulhattan. Have you heard of him?
No.
People said it sounds like a Mulhattan story. Joseph Mulhattan, at the time, this was in early 20th century, late 19th century, he was known as the King of Liars, the liar laureate of the world, and the master of fake news. Basically, he was a traveling salesman. He would travel all over the U.S., and one of the things he sold, when he wasn't selling other wares, was he'd sell stories to local newspapers, usually during really slow news cycles. And these were often really sensationalist stories, but they were logically consistent enough to be sort of believable, so the newspapers ran them because it was a slow news day. Some of his more famous stories include a Texas meteor full of strange alien life that crashed into a ranch in Brown County, Texas.
Sounds credible to me.
Kincaid Cave in Pike County, not far from Hellier, actually.
Oh, Hellier.
Found that interesting. A Kincaid Cave, an underground river full of gold, jewels, and carved stone sarcophagi. Interesting that was right near Hellier.
Yeah.
Because Hellier involves an interesting underground tunnel system.
Yeah, that's right.
That would make a good episode one day, by the way.
Yeah, Hellier.
Put that on the list.
I don't think we've ever covered Hellier, have we?
No, we haven't. Great story.
Yeah.
But anyway, continuing with Mulhattan, near Florence, Arizona, he wrote an article about predatory cacti that would consume people and animals by some sort of magnetism. Would draw people in and consume them.
With magnetism?
Yes.
A magnetic cactus.
Yes.
That would eat you.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I've not heard that one before.
Yeah, and he claimed to have found a mermaid in a cave in Montana. Sensational stories, but it was this slow news cycle. This was called at the time it was called yellow journalism.
Yeah.
These days it's known as fake news.
Misinformation, disinformation.
Yeah. Before internet and Facebook and YouTube and fake news, there was yellow journalism. These sensationalist stories that were just published because they were entertaining and they would sell papers. But
and that's where it gets easy. And like you're saying, and I think a lot of people out there feels the same, that seems to be the end all be all of this story. For those reasons, we don't know what happened to G.E. Kincaid. The Smithsonian says this guy Jordan never existed. It's a fantastical story, and I did some research on the Gazette. The Gazette was not known as a journalistic outlet of ill repute, but it wasn't a newspaper of record either. And definitely at this time, sensational stories were pushed. It was a thing that they would just run in order to sell papers. And definitely there was a motif of the lost city, the crazy archaeological find that was going to be the greatest discovery ever. That's definitely a theme within those sensationalist articles. So let's tear this apart a little bit. Let's break this down and try and discover if this is real. So how are we going to do that?
Well, I will give this story 1 point for credibility in that for something that would have just been whole cloth made up. Aside from these two men, Kincaid and Jordan, it's really vague on their backgrounds. It doesn't even give full names. Aside from that, the story itself, the cave and the description of it, is very oddly specific.
Yes, it's very detailed.
Completely made up story.
Which in a lot of the sensationalized stories of this era, you don't see. They're intentionally kind of vague because obviously if it's made up, you don't have a lot of specifics. You might not even mention names. A point against would be the fact that this specific article doesn't seem to have an author as well.
Yeah, I wasn't able to find an author for the article.
There's no credit. There's no credit in the newspaper on who exactly wrote this article. So that's a point again. The Smithsonian denies all of this, says they never received artifacts, they never funded this expedition, and they've never heard of either of these people.
That doesn't, an absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
No.
And it's not the first time the Smithsonian has been accused of covering something up.
Suppressing information.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The Smithsonian comes up a lot in conspiracy circles as kind of the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
The people that hold on to secrets for the people in power. Why is this something that you would want to suppress? Why would this story, why would this discovery like this be something that you would not want to get out into the public domain? I think the obvious reason, it kind of upsets the entire story of Columbus discovering America narrative.
Yeah, that story's been upset by other things.
That's right.
We've got Viking artifacts that have been discovered in North America, in Nova Scotia, I believe.
Yep, that's right.
And
that's right.
There's actually evidence of ancient Chinese contact with North America.
Yep.
North America is depicted on some pre-Columbus Chinese maps.
Yeah.
So there's that evidence too. So I think, that kind of evidence, it definitely upsets this exceptionalism that's tied to Columbus and the whole narrative of the settling of North America.
Yeah. Do you know much about the Smithsonian Institute?
I don't actually.
Okay. It was founded in 1846. It's the world's largest museum. It actually was formed from an endowment from a British scientist, James Smithson, who left money to form the Smithsonian Institute to America for some reason, even though he was a Brit and had never been to America. So it's alluded that he had some connections to Freemasonry.
Or friends, the Freemasons.
And the Rosicrucians. And maybe that was a motivation, because we all know the conspiracy theories about the Freemasons and Washington, D.C. and the Founding Fathers.
Yeah.
Right?
Did a whole episode on it.
Yeah. People could go back and check out our Freemason
one.
episodes to get the background on that. People are connecting those dots, right?
Yeah.
That perhaps he provided this endowment to create this institution to collect knowledge, but also to be the arbiters of knowledge. He's quoted as saying in his will that he wanted this money to go to found an establishment for the increase and diffusion of knowledge among men. So people will point to that term, diffusion of knowledge, as being very deliberate and specific, as kind of interpreting that as controlling what knowledge is out there.
Yeah, it's about influence.
Yeah.
If you can curate history like that,
exactly.
That gives you a great deal of influence over people, and their opinions kind of permeates through the whole world.
That's right. And I did look at a lot of kind of white paper stuff on the Smithsonian. Really cool stuff, actually. I'd love to go check it out sometime. But yeah, the reason why these ideas and those conspiracy theories kind of bubble up is because like 99.9% of the artifacts and samples and specimens that the Smithsonian has possession of and cataloged is not viewable, right? For being the largest museum, they have warehouses and facilities full of specimens and samples, I guess referred to lovingly as America's attic.
It's like that giant warehouse at the end of like Indiana Jones.
Exactly.
Where is the Ark of the Covenant going? Where is it? Oh, it's going somewhere safe. Our best people are looking at it, and you see it. It's just in a giant crate, and it's being taken into this like giant
massive
endless warehouse.
Yeah, and certainly, obviously, every museum operates in much the same way. Not every article that they have is on display.
No, they rotate them sometimes.
They rotate them, and a lot of them are just used for actual scientific research and reference and forensics to catalog species, right? It's like a library. It's a massive cataloged library on many different fields of study.
Yeah, and some of these things you can look at this catalog of things they have. You can set up a private viewing sometimes. For some things.
For some things.
Not everything.
And that's where this conspiracies kind of come to case, because there's a lot of these stories of things being discovered. Some even also local to Arizona, where there's discoveries of strange specimens, large boned creatures, giants perhaps, things like that, that the items are sent to the Smithsonian and then are never heard from again, right? So people are going to have to make up for themselves what they think about that Smithsonian piece. It could just be a name you drop in these stories.
Like the Illuminati.
Yeah. But what else do we got? Is there any other analogs we can point to of why this might not be such a crazy idea?
Well,
okay, go ahead. You're going to say something?
I was admittedly very skeptical about the specific story about this Kincaid fellow and this Jordan fellow and the whole newspaper article. Yes, I was skeptical about the details of that. But I was really fascinated. This all sounds very familiar in that it's on the Colorado River. I went on and on when we were talking about the Nahanni Valley. I went on and on about antecedent rivers.
Yes.
And how they seem to be magnets for these kinds of stories.
Yeah.
And they always seem to be like sacred, holy land for whatever peoples or cultures were around those rivers.
Yeah.
Just like a quick refresher, if you haven't seen that episode, what an antecedent river is it's a river that flows powerfully enough that it is eroding the land faster than plate tectonics can work to uplift the land. So generally a river will move around the landscape. It'll get moved around as plate tectonics do their stuff. It'll flow around mountains.
Yeah.
An antecedent river won't do that. It will cut directly through mountains.
Yeah.
And predates the landscape by millions of years. The river's always been there.
Yeah.
As the land was transformed around it. And these are always sacred sites. There's the Nahanni River in Canada. There's the Colorado River in the U.S. In Egypt, you've got the Nile River. In China, you've got, what the devil is that river called? It's where the Three Gorges Dam is. I forget the name.
I don't recall. Yeah.
Anyway.
You mentioned it on that Nahanni episode.
Yeah, I just found it fascinating because there's a lot of parallel stories between the Colorado River, the Grand Canyon, and Nahanni Valley. And both seem to be viewed as these lost worlds that almost exist outside of time. In the Nahanni, you often have sightings of prehistoric creatures. You have stories of lost tribes. Yeah. Actually, one of that lost tribe in the Nahanni, the Naha, also known as the Mountain Dene, it's theorized that when they disappeared, they actually moved south to the region of the Grand Canyon and became the ancestors of the modern-day Navajo. Interestingly enough, the Navajo don't call themselves the Navajo. They call themselves the Dene.
Yeah, because that Dene just means the people, right?
Yeah, and they have similarities in their language to the current Dene people that live near the Nahanni Valley. And of course, there was this whole story about, there's some sort of underground passage between the Nahanni and the Grand Canyon.
Well, I'm really glad that's why you brought up the Nahanni. I was just about to bring it up as well. I went back and rewatched that episode. I don't know if you did as well. One of my favorites that we've ever done. That's a fantastic episode.
I'm a little self-conscious about the work I did on the video.
Oh, come on.
But it was great. It was a good episode.
Fantastic episode, if you ask me. And yeah, there's a lot of parallels between this story and a lot of the stories, because we told like 6 different crazy, wild stories about the Nahanni on that episode. I'm surprised how much we crammed into an hour. But remember, we had talked about the story of, what was it, Betty and her husband, the explorers in the 50s.
Yeah, they made that film.
Yeah, and they found all that gold and then lost it on the way out, right? And there's a whole film of their trip. Yeah. And they talked about finding this cave systems, like a huge network of cave systems and pottery and cave art.
Yeah.
And we know already within the Grand Canyon, it was inhabited by indigenous peoples. There's artifacts and cave art and structures littered throughout the valley. There's certainly numerous caves. There's no way all of it has been explored. And there's also a lot of areas in the Grand Canyon you're just not allowed to go to for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So this is what people will often point to in terms of the conspiracy and that believe it is, why can't we go to this part of the park? Why can't we go into that section of the valley? For whatever reason, the U.S. government or the Parks Department or whoever it is, UNESCO says you can't go there.
UNESCO guards all the entrances to the Hollow Earth.
That's right.
Get over this.
Well, what are we talking about if you've got a massive cave network below ground, all these structures built into the earth? You're talking about the Hollow Earth.
It's
right?
interesting because we have a story here that connects the Nahanni Valley in Northwest Territories, Canada, to the Colorado River.
Yeah.
You've got these two peoples living in these regions, which share, commonalities in their language and creation myths.
Yeah.
And now you have this story in the Grand Canyon that somehow connects, the Colorado River to the Nile River, Egyptian artifacts, or at least Egyptian-looking artifacts.
Yeah.
Are all these antecedent river systems connected through some underground network?
Perhaps. I think so. And it's not the only example of such a discovery. Have you ever heard of Derinkuyu?
I have not.
Okay, so Derinkuyu is an archaeological site in Turkey. It was discovered by accident in 1963 by a man who was renovating his basement. And so he accidentally kind of knocked a hole in a wall as he was renovating. Maybe he was expanding, I don't know. And there was a void behind this wall that went into an underground cave system. So he started exploring it. And it turned out to be this massive complex of tunnels, spanned 18 stories below the earth at least, with enough space. Much of it has been excavated and explored now. It's actually a big tourist attraction now. Some areas you can't go into, but supposedly big enough to house a population of 20,000 people plus livestock. It's got areas for markets, for butchers, for processing olive oil. It's got its own water system, ventilation system. It's highly secured. It's got these big circular doors that can roll and block off entrances at key locations in order to make it defensible.
Interesting.
It's got numerous churches from various eras throughout history. Christians hid here from, the Roman Empire before it turned Christian, whatever. Anyway, history. You can look that up. But this place was completely unknown, right? And it's massive. And people would go there in times of strife during calamity. It's all carved out of this rock called tuff, which is basically volcanic, this porous kind of volcanic rock. And there's a water table deep below it, so they'd have these wells dug so that their water supply was secure as well, even if they were sealed in for an extended period of time. Then they could have livestock, food stores, and water for long periods of time, even if they're completely shut in. Population of 20,000, right? And that was just discovered in 1963. Right?
And remind me, where was this again?
In Turkey.
In Turkey, okay.
Yeah.
Was it near a river?
I'm sure there is a river nearby, but I didn't look into that.
I will have to look into this.
Yeah.
I have this fascination with these antecedent river systems now, since
Right.
we did that Nahanni episode.
Yeah. I don't know if there's an antecedent river nearby. I'm sorry, I can't speak to that. But it did get me thinking, because we've talked about, I think, in passing, the Ant People before.
Yes.
Which is a Hopi legend of the Ant People, which were not literally ants per se, but they were humans that lived underground. They call them the Ant People because they behaved like ants. They lived in tunnelways under the earth.
Yeah.
And they would gather the Hopi and take them underground when they knew there was going to be some kind of large catastrophe, a flood, a disaster that would wipe out all the life on the surface, and they would shelter them. And then when the catastrophe was over, they would reintroduce, the Hopi back into the surface world. And they also educated the Hopi on things like astronomy and agriculture, passed down important knowledge that built up civilization.
I mean, the entire Hopi creation myth involves them emerging from some underground kingdom.
Yeah, and actually, looking this up last night, they actually know, or at least they've decided exactly where this spot is.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it was. I don't know if it's in Arizona or near the Grand Canyon, but it's this spring where they say, and it's sacred to them, and they're like, this is the spot where we emerged from underground. But right now, it's a spring, it's completely flooded.
Yeah, and the Navajo, actually similar creation myth to the Hopi, in that they emerged from this underground place. After traveling through many other worlds, they emerged from underground. And you might think, well, the Navajo and the Hopi, they both live in that region. Maybe they're the Navajo and the Hopi are not related at all.
No.
The Hopi have been there a lot longer than the Navajo, because the Navajo were a very migratory people. They arrived in that area much more recently.
Yeah.
Maybe from Canada.
Yeah.
Probably from Canada.
And the Hopi
actually
came from the south. I believe they came from like Central America and Mexico.
Yeah.
So they have Mayan origins as well.
Yeah.
Right?
There's another Aboriginal tribe that lives in the area, the Zuni. The Zuni people, they also, their creation myth is that they emerged from underground near the confluence of the Colorado and the Little Colorado River, which I believe is just north of Flagstaff, Arizona.
Right.
And actually not far from where Kincaid claims to have discovered this cave, the Marble Canyon region, interestingly enough.
Yeah. And did you realize there's another culture that also has a creation story about ant people that live below ground, bearers of knowledge, that's completely from the other side of the planet? The ancient Sumerians.
Ah, the Sumerians.
And the Anunnaki. A lot of people know about the Anunnaki and the story of them kind of coming from space, coming down from the heavens in ships to interact with humanity, teach us things, whatnot. But there's actually 3 different kinds of Anunnaki. The sky Anunnaki, who descend from the heavens to earth. There's the Anunnaki who actually lived amongst mankind on the surface of earth. And then there's the Anunnaki who descended below the ground to live beneath the earth. And they actually also would shelter humans in times of calamity below ground and then reintroduce them after cataclysm.
Yeah.
And then reseed the knowledge to human beings to rebuild civilization, right? The Hopi, actually, their word for the Ant people is Anu Sonoma. So you've got the Anunnaki and you have the Anu Sonoma. So now you've got 2 words sounding very similar legends from opposite sides of the planet. And where was ancient Sumer? Is modern day Iraq.
Yeah.
Right? Which is right next door to Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt. We also discussed, we did 2 whole episodes on discussing these giant underground spaces that are theorized to exist beneath the Giza Plateau. Giant spaces that could supposedly house thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people.
Yeah, and we do it now. We build underground now. That's more popular than ever. And a lot of people, you could say there's even a trend right now in this specific moment of time of wanting to build bunkers because we're scared of future cataclysm. Mm-hmm. We're scared of that nuclear war.
Yeah.
Nuclear winter. So what do? We want to bury ourselves underground. We want to sustain ourselves within the earth somehow so that we can come back later when things are better.
I don't actually find the idea of this giant underground structure, even with Egyptian artifacts, I don't find that to be very implausible. Despite what I said about, this Kincaid fellow and finding that whole story to be a bit dubious in the details, I don't find it that implausible that such a space could exist. I do get the sense that history is very heavily curated. Well, a lot of it we just don't know about, and what we do know about is probably very heavily curated. The Egyptians were known to be really good sailors. They were.
Yeah.
There's no stories about them traveling, that far out into the ocean. Most of their sailing was done coastally, trading with neighboring kingdoms, but they were great sailors. If they did reach North America, they could have left artifacts like this. They did have pretty advanced metallurgy. They could have left these copper artifacts, which are mentioned in the article.
Or what if it's like Graham Hancock says, and before the Younger Dryas, 12,000 years ago? What if Egypt and Sumer are actually the remnants of an older, more advanced civilization? And that's where we get these flood myths and these myths of Earth being destroyed and recreated in multiple
cyclical
phases.
Apocalypse.
Yeah. because it's really strange, the detail of like, if you're gonna make this fake story about Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon, why do you throw in Buddha? Why do you throw this Buddha statue in the midst of that?
Maybe both cultures.
Because what if there's a
came from
confluence?
something much older.
Exactly. They're not Egyptian artifacts. What if they're artifacts left from an even older civilization predating Egypt? That was in fact a global civilization.
Well, I mean, it should be said right off the top, there were civilizations that we know about that predated, ancient Egypt. There were, but I know what you're saying. Something even far older than that. Deep time. But this is why I get obsessed with the whole idea of antecedent rivers. Is that the rivers predate the geography around them on such vast time scales. The river's always been there, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's why it's like a place that exists outside of time. That's why you get these stories, these mythical stories around all these rivers. Like the Nahanni, you have sightings of prehistoric creatures there. You have sightings of prehistoric creatures tied to the Grand Canyon region. Did you ever read this story about the Thunderbird of Tombstone, Arizona?
No, I did not.
This is a bit south of the Grand Canyon, but still in the same state. This was from an article, April 1890 article published in the Tombstone Epitaph. Of course, that's what Tombstone, Arizona named their newspaper.
Yeah.
The article details a group of ranchers killing an enormous flying creature with bat-like wings, later described as a pterodactyl. Interestingly enough, pterodactyl, it's kind of a catch-all term generally used to describe any kind of winged dinosaur.
Okay.
Generally, that's how people use that name.
Yeah.
Did you know that pteranodon, which pretty much looks like exactly what I just described, they existed in the western interior of the United States. Fossils of them have been found from Wyoming to Texas. Why was it cited there? Again, a place that seems to exist outside of time.
And just like the Nahanni Valley, there's something about the geology. The geology of the area itself might be a clue into what's going on here. I believe the generally accepted theory is that the Colorado River formed the Grand Canyon over like 70 million years or something like that.
Yeah.
But there are alternative theories that it might have happened during a massive cataclysmic event on a much smaller time scale. Something like a massive flood triggered by the end of the last ice age, like a comet strike that ended the Younger Dryas at the end of the Younger Dryas, causing a massive flood and this upheaval that created a lot of tectonic stress to actually form the canyon a shorter amount of time. It made me think of our old story on the electric universe.
Okay.
Another old episode of ours, maybe not my favorite. I don't think we were really ready for that subject matter. Or at least I wasn't when we got to that episode. That was really early on. But just to recap some electric universe theory, it's this idea that gravity is not the primary force in terms of forming galaxies and powering stars. It's actually electromagnetism.
Yeah.
And all of our solar systems and all our planets are kind of connected in this massive electrical circuit. And it's possible, under the right circumstances, for these massive electrical discharges to arc between entire planets or entire solar systems. And that at one point in the past, there was a massive discharge like this between Earth and Mars. And that's where you actually get the scar of the Valles Marineris on Mars. Mm-hmm. Which if you look at Mars, that's its most defining feature. I mean, there's Olympus Mons. Mars is a very extreme place, but I mean, I think everybody sees a picture of Mars and sees that massive scar and thinks the same thing.
I was actually looking into Mars this week because that Valley of the Mariners would be the English translation of that. It just reminds you of the Grand Canyon, probably the largest canyon in the solar system. Because you hear all about like ancient water flow on Mars.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, could that valley be like an antecedent river system? I looked it up, and it's like no. That feature is thought to be. It was thought to have been formed by something more abrupt and sudden and cataclysmic.
Yeah, and it looks like it. You look at the Grand Canyon, the Colorado River, and it looks like a river, right? Yeah. But it's got all these branching spokes, and there's definitely other areas of geology within the North American basin that look like they could have resulted from massive cataclysm. Mm-hmm. Like there's an area called the Scablands, and it's more the northwestern part of North America, where not much grows there. It's very desert, and there's a lot of big canyons and this big tectonic upheaval. And geological research is done there because there's stuff heaved up from millions and millions of years ago, or deep within the crust of the earth, brought up, and it flooded massively about 12,000 years ago after whatever happened in the Younger Dryas. But maybe the Colorado River, maybe the Grand Canyon was part of that same event, and instead of slowly forming tens of millions of years, was just part of that massive geological upheaval that the planet suffered at that time. Maybe it was this big massive lightning bolt between Earth and Mars.
Maybe. That
just flash melted glaciers and lifted up tectonic plates and sent water flooding all over the continent and carving out these massive geological features. And maybe that's what people were going underground to hide from, to live through.
You know, maybe.
I've not convinced you, have I? I don't feel tip-top today. I don't feel like I'm at my best. I'm trying to convince you here.
It's not that that's not a convincing story. I just find the river so much interesting as this ancient thing that's existed and predates the landscape and, like I keep saying, exists outside of time.
Yeah.
That's why you find so many anomalous things around these antecedent rivers. They exist in a way outside of time. Like the past is still happening. Like it's always been happening.
Yeah.
When you're in this space. A kind of liminal space between worlds almost.
Yeah.
That's how I like to look at these rivers. And that's why I'm so drawn to these stories, you know?
I get it. And it can be two things. One doesn't omit the other. You know, you can have a spooky river and a massive lightning bolt cataclysm at the same time.
I guess. I like my version better.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yes. Well, what else do you have? We are rolling up on time. I had some other stories just of mysteries within the Grand Canyon that were kind of fun. They're not really related. Like I started trying to look up if there was decapitations.
It is all connected. That is.
What have you got?
You were telling me how this connects to spiralism before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because I was thinking about the Hopi, and it's like I was looking at all kinds of the cave art from the Hopi representing the Ant People. And I was telling you before the show that it's crazy how whenever you're looking at these cave depictions or wall art of Ant People, there's always a spiral. Right? And I think it is meant to represent, much like spiralism, that recurring process of destruction and rebirth, of descending below ground to survive a cataclysm. And even in that anime you were telling about, that manga or whatever.
Uzumaki?
Yeah. Wasn't it exactly based on that same idea as well? That this destructive and rebirth process was just happening over and over again in this never-ending cycle.
The whole town kind of collapses into these ancient subterranean spiral-shaped ruins. You know, that it happened before, would probably happen again. Cyclical apocalypse, infinite recursion, just like Saturn, the demiurge,
and hence
recycles souls over and over again.
Yeah.
The Saturn again. It's all connected.
It's all connected, and it's all a spiral, right? So what if it is all representing the same thing? Or what if the past is being influenced by the future?
My head hurts.
What if the Hopi only drove spirals on their cave walls because we have AI spiralism cults today?
Oh God.
Yeah, maybe we should wrap up.
It's all a spiral. And a river runs through it all. A river that exists outside of time and space.
Yeah. So did I convince you? Do you believe in G.E. Kincaid's story now?
G.E. Kincaid, I don't.
No?
Is there something in the Grand Canyon? I have no doubt. You know,
I'm just saying I can read that story. I can view it through a particular lens, and it cannot sound fantastical at all. It can sound like something that absolutely could and should and probably would happen.
Yeah, the problem with that,
based on all those contextual pieces.
But the problem with that particular story, as you're so fond of saying to me, is what it lacks evidence.
Yeah, it does.
I find it
Like,
plausible.
yeah.
I do. Is there something in the Grand Canyon? No doubt. Is history being curated? I don't doubt that either. And a lot of the Grand Canyon is inaccessible. Cover story, bunch of them.
Well, and why
preserving
did-
the cultural heritage, preserving the environment. Some of it's just dangerous. Some of it is contaminated with radiation because they used to mine uranium in that area.
Yeah.
You know, a bunch of reasons for different sections of it to be sealed off.
safety is often
you know?
cited, but I mean, there's all kinds of unsafe places that you're free to go. You know, why is it different? Why is it different there?
I was looking for stories on this just before you came over. I was on Reddit and I was looking at people's stories about traveling to the Grand Canyon and why are some parts of it blocked off. You know,
Yeah.
there's parts you just can't go. And people would say, you know, there were asbestos mines, there was uranium mining, preserving the cultural heritage, whatever. And some people are saying, okay, but there's some pretty extensive stuff in place. There's military presence there.
Mm-hmm.
Scary Men in Black military presence sort of thing going on.
Yeah,
There's probably something going on there that's not publicly known.
yeah.
I have no doubt. Are they specifically protecting a cave of Egyptian artifacts? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
The newspaper
Well,
article.
and if you
didn't
look at
convince
Darren
me.
Kuyu as well, like it's a tourist attraction, right? You can go there, but you're only allowed to go, like, I think 3 or 4 levels deep. But we know there's at least 18. And then they have big areas of it blocked off that you can't go and see because they say, oh, it's too dangerous, right? Could be collapsed. Or is it just that there's stuff down there that they don't want you to see? Maybe the good stuff is really a few levels down below the tourist trap, you know?
Yeah,
Just like in Egypt,
we'll figure it out one
you know?
day.
They don't want you to go through a particular entrance into the Temple of the Sphinx, so they just build a restaurant on top of it, right?
Yeah, I mean that's
Just like the Tomb of the Birds or whatever,
That's what's
right?
happening with the Giza Plateau now. You know, the whole area around it's being developed. And
Yeah, I'm curious to see what emerges from that whole story with that.
the Italian team.
Yeah, the Italian team and their subterranean radar breakthrough, whatever it was. Because I followed that Trevor Grassi guy, his YouTube, and he's been dropping a lot of hints that they've got more stuff coming up that they're releasing soon. Following him for a little bit since we released that story last year, like I have a lot more belief. I put a lot more credibility into those folks now, having followed it for the past year. I'm curious to see what they come out with.
Yeah, we might have to do a third episode on that.
Did we do 2 episodes on Egypt?
Well, I mean, we did
Or on the pyramids? Oh, we did the
H.P. Lovecraft
The H.P.
one.
Lovecraft, right? The Houdini one.
Yeah, I know what's beneath Giza.
Yeah.
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu. Or something. Some analog.
One of the Lovecraftian
Yeah.
elder
Gods.
gods lives under
Okay.
Giza.
All right. Well, that was great. That was great. Fun discussion.
Yeah.
Fun one to come
absolutely.
back from a break. We've been off. What has it been? At least 3 weeks since we recorded.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
a bit. Yeah, this was fun. I would like to invite everyone to let us know what you think in the comments. And also, if YouTube's not your thing, you know, we are on other platforms, Spotify, Apple,
Yeah.
Amazon. Give us a follow. If YouTube's not your thing, I'm feeling a little bitter about
The old YouTube,
a certain...
the old platform. Yeah, they don't seem very friendly to us.
I don't want to
lately.
say their name. It's a platform called U-Cylinder, owned by a company named Boogle. They have been very frustrating for us to deal with lately.
Yeah.
It feels like we release an episode and it's doing really well for a little bit, getting tons of views, and it's like they cap us at a certain number of views.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
well-
It seems really unnatural. It doesn't look right when you look at the chart. Because,
Yeah.
it's like, we'll launch really good and we'll be like on a rocket ship to the moon with engagement. And then all of a sudden it just hits a wall.
Yeah,
like
and
a
it doesn't-
hard wall.
it
It,
doesn't-
just stops.
And it's not like the views just stop.
They go backwards.
They'll keep going. Like, let's say we've got a cap of 100 views on this episode. we'll hit 100, we'll surpass 100, we'll get up to like 130, and then all those views will be deducted off, and we'll be back at 100.
Yeah.
And then it'll rise to like 130
the next day
or
it'll be
150
125,
again,
yeah.
and then although it'll be deducted, it'll be back at 100 again.
Yeah. So
And
I don't know what they're doing. I don't
It's
know
like
if
we're capped on YouTube.
I don't know if they're attacking our channel or if they're just deleting so many channels en masse and people en masse off of YouTube. That because I know if like say another YouTube account goes and likes our video or watches our video and then they delete them, you lose that like or
so
that whatever.
I don't know.
I don't know what's going on either.
I know.
But it's
you,
funny.
You
funky
complained to
business.
them, they ignored you, and
That's right. I got completely ignored. Yeah. But it's not, it seems like there's a finger on the scale somewhere, and I don't know if it's malicious or just a byproduct of their latest algorithm update, whatever. And I don't want to go on and on that, but it doesn't seem right. It definitely feels like a hostile environment.
Yeah.
In terms of growth for us. So yeah, we're all about on the audio platforms as well. Apple is big, but basically anywhere where you can download a podcast, you're likely to find us. Pick your poison, whatever works for you. But anything you can do to help us out and help fight against the man, the boogly man, we appreciate.
Man's always trying to keep me down.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Scarcely get up in the morning thinking about it.
Okay, well, let's call it a day. That was a lot of fun. Really fun conversation. Yes, please jump in the comments. It helps us out, and I'm really curious to see what people think. Is this a real story, or does it just represent a truth, whether the story is false or not? I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks. So enjoy the nice weather. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good night.
Good night.